For our Module 9 review, you are going to want a paper and a pencil to do these with me to get your points. So bring back the paper with your work on it and I will get you some class points. So the very first sections of our test are about balancing equations. We're trying to get that variable alone and figure out what is going to make that equation true. And you have to show the balance. If I can't see the balance, it's not going to be correct. It must have the balance. So we're going to go ahead and do 14.7 plus j, and that equals 26. So we're going to separate it right through that equal sign. So we're trying to get j by itself. So we want to move 14 to that other side. We want to get rid of 14. So we have a positive 14.7. So the opposite is to minus 14.7. And if I do it to this side, that cancels out. But I do it to this side, I have to do it to this side. 14.7. Now I need to make sure these decimals are lined up. We have 26.0, it's like $26, and we're taking away $14.70. We have to line those decimals up. So we cannot do 0 minus 7, so we're going to borrow. So you can go ahead and see if you can finish the subtraction problem and then come back and check with me. So here we have 3, bring down my decimal, 5 minus 4 is 1, 2 minus 1 is 1. So j equals 11.3. 14, that's about 15, plus 11 is 26. So my answer makes sense. Go back and check. If I plug this in, will this make sense? All right, our next problem, we have 37.8 equals k minus 18. So we're going to go ahead and split that down the equal sign. So this time we're trying to find k. We want to know the value of k. So we want to move 18 to the other side. We're always trying to get that variable alone. So here we have minus 18. So the opposite of that is to add 18. So that cancels out. But if I do it to this side, I need to do it to the other side. And we want to make sure we line those decimals up. Here's the tens place. Here's the ones place. Here's my decimal. There's my tenths place. We're lining those decimals up. So 8 plus 0 is 8. Go ahead and see if you can hurry and finish that problem. So now we have 7 plus 8 is 15. And here's 4 plus 1 more is 5. So if I have 55, so this equals k. So if I have 55.8, I take away 18 of them, 37.8. My answer makes sense. Something bigger, take away 18 should give me 37 there. So the first section will just be on adding and subtracting. Do the opposite to both sides. So your next section will be on multiplying and dividing. So we have 57 equals 6 h's. So we're going to go ahead and split up our problem. We're trying to get h alone. And these are stuck together. When they're stuck together, that means multiply. So the opposite is to divide by 6. So that cancels out. And if I do it to this side, I need to do it to this side. So we need to go ahead and do 57. And we're going to divide by 6. So I need something above the 5 and the 7. So 6 can't go into 5. But 6 goes into 57, 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, 36, 42, 54. I feel like I skipped a number. Let me try that again. 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, 36, 42, 48, 54. There we go. So it went in there 9 times is 54. So we have 3 left over, and we need to bring down that 0. So we're adding a decimal, adding a 0. So we're going to add our decimal. So now 6 goes into 35 times. So this is 9.5 equals h, right? So because we know 6 times 9 is 54, but we need a little bit more, so 9.5. 6 times 9.5 is 57. My answer makes sense there. So if it doesn't go in there perfect, add those decimals with the 0 here. Okay, there is a problem very similar to this. It's going to be the most missed problem on the test because our brains, right, they're trying to make connections and they see 7 and 56, and they're thinking, oh, divide, and they think 56 divided by 7 is 8. But if I do 8 divided by 7, the answer is not 56. That's 8 times 7, and we're dividing here. So let's set up our problem. So n divided by 7 equals 56. So we're separating out. We're trying to get n by itself. So this slash, right, cutting it into pieces, it's dividing. The opposite of divide is times. So that cancels out. But if I do it to this side, I have to do it to this side. So we have 56 times 7 is 42. 35 plus 4 is 39. So n equals 392. 392 cut into 7 pieces equals 56. That makes sense. 8 divided by 7 to equal 56 does not make sense. We always want to check. Does it make sense? Try to get the variable alone. This was divide. The opposite is multiply. Solve out your problem so we don't make those silly mistakes. Okay, next up, we're going to write and graph inequalities. If you are struggling with some of these words, I would take a second and write down this chart so you can practice and study it. So here's some words that mean greater than, less than, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to. Some of these are tricky because we hear least and we think, oh, it's got to be smaller, but that's actually the lowest it can be. It's got to be bigger. Or we hear, oh, that's the at most. No, that's the most it can be. It needs to be smaller. So don't let those words trick you. Got to think about what they mean. Okay, so we're going to write and graph this. Tyler found at least 12 seashells on the beach. So Tyler found at least 12 seashells on the beach. At least 12. And we're going to compare it to seashells. So seashells and 12. We want to put that variable first to help us get it in the right order. At least. So that's the lowest he can do. So we're going to go ahead and make a solution set. So that's the lowest he could do. He could have found 13. He could have found 15. He could have found 20, right? All things that are bigger. Now I'm asking, could it equal 12? Could he have found 12? Yes, that's the least he could have found. It could equal that. So all of these are bigger. That bigger side opens up to those bigger numbers, right? It points, the smaller side points to the smaller number. 12 is smaller than those. S, the seashells he found, is bigger. But it could equal it, so we put that equal sign under it. Okay, on our number line, just go ahead and draw out a little line and mark the 12. We're going to circle the 12, and we're going to grab it, and we're going to fill it in because it could equal 12. Now we said it could be 13, 15, 20. All of our solutions are getting bigger, so our line should go straight. It should connect to our circle and go straight through the solution set. Okay, our next one tells us that Heidi runs at most 10 miles each day. So we're talking about the miles she runs, so we'll call it M. And we have 10. We're comparing to 10 at most, right? So we hear most, and we want to start doing bigger, but that's the most that she does. We need to list things that are smaller. So maybe she runs 5 miles. Maybe she runs 1 mile. Maybe she runs 9 miles one day. Can she run 10? Yes, that's the most she could do. So she could run 10. We're always asking, can it equal that number? So all of these are less than. The miles she runs is less than 10, but it could be equal. That's right. The little side points to the little numbers. Little side points to the little numbers. So on my number line, we're going to mark 10, and we're going to circle 10, and we're going to grab it and fill it in because it includes it. Include. We're grabbing it and filling it in. So we said it could equal 9 and 5 and 1. All of those are going to the left, to the smaller. So I start at my circle and go off to show it could be anything smaller in that direction. Okay, our last inequality says the temperature, so we'll call it T for temperature, was below 25 degrees all week. So we're comparing to 25. So we're going to mark 3 things that are below 25, right? Below. So we could say it's 24. It could be 20 degrees. Maybe it was -5 degrees. That's below 25. Could it be 25? Is 25 below 25? No, so it can't equal it this time. It has to be lower. So all of these compared to 25 are smaller. The temperature is less than 25. So the little side's pointing to my little numbers here. But it can't equal it, so no line this time. So on my number line, we're going to mark 25. And we're going to circle it, and we're going to leave it open because it's not including it. Not included. So we said it could be 24 and 20 and -5. So all of my answers are going to the left and getting smaller. So it just touches that circle and shows me all of the possible answers that it could be. Hey, and the last section of our test is to write an equation. Now remember, equations need equal signs. So we are showing how you would solve this problem. Where would the answer go with that variable? So Gentry earned $15 shoveling snow. So right, she earned that. So I'm thinking we're going to add that on. Now she has 45. Ooh, that's a total. So now she has a total of 45. Write an equation. So we're just going through and we're marking keywords. I need a 15. I need the total to be 45. I need to put an equal sign. Write an equation to represent how much money M she already had. So she has 45 now. That's her total. So there's a lot of ways we could do this. I could take $15 and I could add on the money she already had. She had 15, she already had this. Put them together and that should equal 47. So that's one way to write this. And remember, every equation has 4 possible solutions here. So we could take M, we could just flip it around. The money she already had, she gets 15 more. Now she has 47. And the opposite of adding is we can subtract those. So we can take 47, that's her total. We can take away the money that she earned, and that will tell us the money that she already had. Or we can take 47, her total. We can take away the money she had, and that will give us the money that she earned, the 15. So every equation, right, has those 4 possible ways. So go through, mark, what do I have? What do I need? What do I know about it? Write your first one and then think, how else can I do this, right? Flip around. Multiplication and addition can switch around. And then when we subtract and divide, that total has to stay in the front. Okay, last one says Capri spent 5 times less. So 5 times, so right, but less, we're going to be dividing by 5 than her friend. This friend spent 45. Write an equation, so we need an equal sign in there, to represent how much money Capri C spent. So let's start with our total here. So we have a total of 45. And I need 5 times less than that. So we're going to divide by 5, and that's going to equal Capri. So we could also do 45, and we could divide it by whatever Capri has, right? 45 divided by 5 is 9. We could divide it by Capri, which is 9. She spent $9, and that would tell us it's 5 times less. Now the opposite of divide is times, and we need the answer, right? The total to be 45. So we could take C and we could times it by 5, and that would equal 45. But a better way to write that problem would be to be 5 C's. 5 times C is 45. So every equation has 4 ways that you can write it. So figure out what is it, and then you can always do the opposite of that as well. So make sure you wrote those down, have your answers, bring it back to get a prize or points, and you're going to do awesome on your test.